Greetings. Welcome to the channel. In this ongoing series, I will delve into the history of science fiction cinema, from its humble beginnings in the early 1900s to the groundbreaking developments of the silent era. I'll uncover the stories behind the visionary filmmakers who dared to push the boundaries of the imagination. This introductory episode sets the stage for the history of the genre that dominates Hollywood today. But in the early 20th century, the genre was a mix of science fiction, fantasy, adventure, and experimentation that evolved with the technology of the 20th century. No film or entire genre, especially science fiction, exists in a vacuum. So I'll also look at the historical events, pop culture, political, as well as scientific and technical achievements of the time. Even from its experimental beginnings, science fiction was able to transport the audiences to worlds unknown, to challenge our perceptions, and to ignite our sense of wonder. From interstellar adventures to dystopian futures, the genre has captivated audiences, allowing them to contemplate the possibilities of technological advancements, extraterrestrial life, and the consequences of our own scientific pursuits. And just a quick side note before we get started, many of the films mentioned are available on YouTube, and I highly recommend checking them out. Before delving into sci-fi film, let's step back in time and look at a few key moments in the development of the genre. Traditional genre conventions we recognize today were not readily apparent in 1900, and the term science fiction was not even used until later in the 20th century. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein holds immense importance in the literary world as it is widely regarded as one of the first science fiction novels ever written. Published in 1818, Shelley's work explores profound themes such as the ethical implications of scientific advancement, the limits of human ambition, and the consequences of playing God. Additionally, Frankenstein has had a lasting cultural impact, inspiring countless adaptations and becoming a cautionary tale that prompts reflection on the responsibilities of creation and the complex nature of humanity. Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea holds significant importance as one of the pioneering works of science fiction literature. Published in 1870, the novel captivated readers with its imaginative depiction, futuristic technology, and the character of Captain Nemo, influencing subsequent generations of writers and shaping popular culture's fascination with the mysteries of the deep sea. H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds is a seminal work of science fiction in both literary and cultural spheres. Published in 1898, the novel introduced the concept of an alien invasion, exploring the themes of interplanetary conflict, technological advancement, and the vulnerability of humanity. Its realistic portrayal of a Martian invasion had a profound impact on science fiction literature. Shelley, Verne, and Wells' stories were some of the first to be adapted by filmmakers. There were some early film experiments in the late 19th century. Filmmakers, including Thomas Edison and the Lumiere brothers, began experimenting with the medium of film. In 1898, Georges Méliès produced The Four Troublesome Heads, one of the first films to feature multiple exposures and visual trickery, hinting at his future contributions to the science fiction genre. Today, the sci-fi genre is one that has many recognizable elements such as spaceships, aliens, dystopian landscapes, and artificial intelligence. But the genre has changed drastically in the 121 years. It is one that mixes well with almost any other to create intricate hybrids. It changes as technology changes. What was fantasy or speculative in one decade can become science fact in the next. The term science fiction was not used during this period, and many of the films featured in this video would be classified today as fantasy or adventure. The first film discussed in this series, A Trip to the Moon, at the time was described as a fantastical film instead of science fiction. As a term, it wasn't widely used until 1927 with Fritz Lang's Metropolis. There is no one definition of the genre. Even scholars have a difficult time agreeing. But in the end, it is the genre that asks what if and explores the possibilities and consequences of scientific discoveries and speculative concepts. Additionally, some of the films from this era may be lost, or we may only have fragments. Because of that, we may never have an exhaustive list of films released in this time. Before breaking down the films discussed in this time period, let's discuss the silent era of cinema. Spanning from the late 19th century to the late 1920s, this was a time of tremendous experimentation and artistic innovation. Filmmakers from this era played a crucial role not only in shaping the science fiction genre, but the future of film as a popular form of entertainment. Many of the editing and filmmaking concepts, as well as visual effects used today, were created in this era. At the forefront of this revolution was the visionary filmmaker and former illusionist Georges Méliès. In 1902, Méliès released his groundbreaking film, A Trip to the Moon. Though not his first, it has remained his most well-known. This extraordinary work remains an iconic masterpiece that forever altered the landscape of cinema and is considered the first science fiction film, even though it wasn't the first film to feature elements of the genre for which it would become known. Though Méliès had a difficult time selling the film because of its high budget, once it finally found its way to an audience, the reception was astounding. The story follows a group of scientists who meet to discuss their plans for a lunar expedition. They design a ship, bid farewell to their loved ones, and launch into space. It is here we first encounter one of the most iconic images of cinema, the man in the moon. An effect achieved by a combination of practical effects and blending live action and multiple exposures. When reaching the moon, they encounter bizarre and fantastical creatures. As they explore the landscape and encounter various challenges and adventures. Méliès, a showman before becoming a filmmaker, knew how to blend elaborate set designs, costumes, and creatures to create a unique world. His clever use of stop-motion animation, multiple exposures, and hand-painted color brought the various elements to life. The idea of space exploration, alien civilizations, and mysteries of the universe are a common theme of sci-fi, but really got started in this film. The reactions were immediate. The film was heavily pirated, and Méliès never received most of the profits from his work. But the piracy led to the film spreading and quickly influenced other filmmakers, including Walter R. Booth and his 1909 The Airship Destroyer, which will be discussed later in this episode, but also Edwin S. Porter's very popular The Great Train Robbery in 1903. Copies of the film were lost during World War I when the French military melted down prints to collect the silver from the film stock. But early film historians rediscovered it in the 1920s, and in 1992 a color version was discovered. Though A Trip to the Moon is often cited as a defining moment in science fiction history, Méliès continued to work on creating more marvelous worlds, but others would soon join him in creating groundbreaking, though not as well-known, works. Many of the films in this decade continued a more whimsical rather than the more recognizable science fiction trends we know today. But the ideas we'll see later, such as space exploration, alien cultures, war, and adventure, are already there. The Impossible Voyage is a 1904 film also directed by Georges Méliès and was inspired by Jules Verne's play Journey Through the Impossible. The story follows a group of explorers who embark on a daring voyage through the various realms. They travel through underground worlds, underwater and celestial domains, and encounter strange creatures and landscapes. The film showcases Malay's innovative visual effects and trick photography techniques, and audiences were once again transported to new worlds, all by going to the cinema. The film was commercially successful and critically acclaimed at the time, but is not as well remembered as A Trip to the Moon. Malay's longest work to date at 20 minutes, the production also made use of double exposure, stop-motion animation, and a whimsical visual style. In watching all the films for this video, I found this one to be my least favorite. Though I appreciate Malay stretching himself with longer storytelling, I didn't find it as enchanting as his previous work and was a little too fanciful for my taste. Voyage Around a Star is a 1906 French short film directed by Gaston Vell. The film tells the story of an imaginative journey through the universe after an astronomer dreams of reaching the stars, by way of some experimentation that may seem not so scientific today. He reaches a female star in the heavens, only to be discovered and cast out of the heavens back down to Earth. Voyage Around a Star showcases the filmmaker's fascination with astronomy and the possibility of space exploration. It captures the wonder and excitement of venturing into the unknown, highlighting boundless imagination and creativity of early sci-fi cinema. The film's visuals are notable for their use of hand-painted color, creating vibrant landscapes, using double exposure, live action, and special effects, as well as stop-motion animation. To me, this was the most surprising to watch for the first time. The ending is quite unexpected. In early science fiction, the stories tend to be more of a happy ending. I don't want to spoil anything, but the astronomer meets an unexpected end to his journey. Once again, we're back to Georges Méliès, but this time he leaves space to explore the oceans in an adaptation of Jules Verne's famous novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The story follows the thrilling underwater adventures of Captain Nemo. The film continued Méliès's track record of visual effects, blending adventure and fantasy. This is a story that will be remade several times, for the first time in 1915. One influential figure of the silent era was Seundo de Chamon and his short film The Electric Hotel from 1908. It was a wonder of visual effects. The story follows a weary traveler who arrives at the hotel. He discovers that the room is filled with electrical gadgets and contraptions that provide extraordinary services, including self-moving furniture, an electric light bulb that acts as a personal servant, and even an automated barber chair. Objects come to life, electrical wires move on their own, and the hotel transforms into an animated environment filled with whimsical happenings. This film showcases his innovative use of stop-motion animation, trick photography, and special effects to create science. The Electric Hotel is a testament to Seundo de Chamon's creativity and skill in manipulating the visual elements of cinema. It combines humor, visual trickery, and a touch of surrealism that has yet to officially be invented to create a delightful and whimsical narrative. I adored this short film. The camera tricks used, editing tricks, uses of close-up to highlight action made it a more sophisticated short, but it did not have much in the way of story. This short film would have wowed audiences in 1908. Walter R. Booth, an English filmmaker with a background as a magician, directed The Airship Destroyer in 1909. Booth was heavily influenced by Méliès's films and was one of the first to bring science fiction elements to British cinema. The Airship Destroyer tells the story of a futuristic airship and its destructive capabilities. The airship is equipped with powerful weaponry and is deployed on a mission to combat threats and protect society while encountering various adversaries, including other aircraft and warships, engaging in thrilling aerial battles. This film is notable for its resourceful use of special effects and early visual experimentation. It showcases early examples of stop-motion animation, miniature models, and superimpositions to create the illusion of flying ships and explosive action sequences. The Airship Destroyer exemplifies the fascination with aviation and futuristic technology during the early 1900s. It captures the spirit and adventure surrounding the possibilities of air travel and warfare. This is a more sophisticated and grounded story than anything we saw from Malay. It is also a reminder of how airplanes will be used in a few short years as a vehicle of war in 1914. With improved editing techniques, cutaways, multiple characters, this is a more adult type of sci-fi we'll get to know in the next decade. The early 20th century witnessed remarkable strides in filmmaking technology that led to more imaginative stories on the silver screen. Innovations in camera equipment, film stock, and projection techniques allowed filmmakers to capture and present their visual tales with greater clarity and impact. Some cameras used in this time period include ones invented by the Lumiere brothers, as well as the biograph camera. The Bell and Howell camera, used in 1907, were durable and versatile, and the Urban Bioscope was an early portable film camera that was gaining popularity at the time. Films became more accessible to audiences through the rise of movie theaters and the development of distribution networks in Hollywood. In 1902, there was a few movie theaters and were usually makeshift venues or part of other establishments like vaudeville theaters. By 1909, there were about 9,000 movie theaters in just the United States alone. When looking at history, it is important to understand what else was going on in the world. So let's look at some historical and cultural events that occurred between 1900 and 1909. First off, the cultural events of this period. Jean Barrie's play Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, premiered in 1904, introducing the iconic character of Peter Pan. The Call of the Wild by Jack London was first published in 1903, capturing the imagination of readers with its tale of adventure and survival in the Alaskan wilderness. Frank Baum's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, was published in 1900 and introduced readers to the magical land of Oz. Next, some historical events of this period as Europe was heading ever closer to war in 1914. The Boxer Rebellion from 1899 to 1901 was a violent anti-foreign and anti-Christian uprising in China and continued into the early 1900s. It resulted in military intervention by an international coalition of forces, including troops from Western countries and Japan. The Russo-Japanese War from 1904 to 1905 was a conflict between the Russian Empire and the Empire of Japan and was fought over territorial disputes in East Asia, particularly over control of Korea and Manchuria. A massive earthquake struck San Francisco, California, on April 18, 1906, resulting in widespread destruction and fires that devastated the city. It remains one of the most significant earthquakes in U.S. history. This decade also saw some significant scientific and technological advancements which would make future science fiction ideas possible, as well as the equipment to bring them to life. In 1900, physicist Max Planck introduced the concept of quantum theory, revolutionizing our understanding of energy and the behavior of particles at atomic and subatomic levels. On December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, achieved the first powered, controlled, and sustained flight of an aircraft in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. This event marked a milestone in the history of aviation. In 1905, Albert Einstein published his special theory of relativity, which introduced the famous equation E equals mc squared, expressing the equivalence of energy and mass. This theory challenged classical physics and paved the way for the development of general relativity and our modern understanding of space, time, and gravity. During this period, Marie Curie's research on radioactivity led to her groundbreaking discoveries of the elements of polonium and radium, revolutionizing the field of nuclear physics. Scottish physicist James Clerk Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, formulated in the late 19th century, continued to shape the field of electromagnetism. This theory unified the understanding of electricity, magnetism, and light, providing a foundation for the development of technologies such as wireless communication. And finally, what else was going on in cinema at this time? The Enchanted Drawing from 1900, directed by J. Stuart Blackton. This film is considered one of the earliest examples of stop-motion animation. It features a hand drawing of a face on a chalkboard that comes to life. The Great Train Robbery, 1903. Directed by Edwin S. Porter, this film is recognized as one of the earliest narrative films. It tells the story of a group of outlaws who rob a train and the subsequent pursuit of law enforcement. The Life of an American Fireman, 1903. Directed by Edwin S. Porter. This film depicts a typical day in the life of a firefighter, showcasing the challenges and heroism involved in their work. The Kingdom of Fairies, 1903. Directed by Georges Méliès, this fantasy film is notable for its elaborate sets and special effects. It takes viewers on a journey to a magical kingdom inhabited by fairies and mythical creatures. Rescued by Rover, 1905. Directed by Cecil Hepworth, this British film tells the story of a dog named Rover who helps rescue a kidnapped baby. It is considered one of the earliest examples of animal-centered narratives in film. We've witnessed the birth of the science fiction film, from Georges Méliès' crowd-pleasing hit to Walter R. Booth's precognition about aerial war. The early 1900s proved to be a pivotal time in the history of film. The experimentation, innovations, and imaginative leaps taken by filmmakers, as well as the audience's hunger for more, set the stage for the genre's growth and evolution. It was a time of discovery as filmmakers unlocked the power of visual effects and storytelling techniques to immerse audiences in fantastical worlds and explore the depths of the human imagination. But our journey doesn't end there. From the rise of sound in films to the advent of groundbreaking visual effects, we'll unravel the threads that have woven together to create the rich tapestry of science fiction filmmaking we know today. There are many captivating chapters to explore in the history of sci-fi film. Join me in upcoming episodes as I delve deeper into the subsequent decades, uncovering more milestones, influential filmmakers, and iconic films that continue to shape the sci-fi genre. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for future videos about the history of sci-fi cinema. It would mean so much if you would join me on this journey. If you would like to see more in-depth analysis of any films mentioned today, please list them in the comments section below. Thank you.